Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Philadelphia. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ben Stark. We're in round number 15, and we have what could be a win and in for top 8 here. William Huey Jensen, Hall of Famer, number 25 in the world right now, versus Oliver Tomaszko, a young man. He's only 13 years old. He's got a lot of gaming experience under his belt here, but he's facing the veteran. I mean, you know, if you're talking about a veteran of Magic, William Huey Jensen is one of the people that would come to your mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a David versus Goliath scenario here, you have William Jensen, Hall of Famer, also 6'8".
He is. He's massive.
Oliver Tomaszko, 13 years old, looks it.
Looks younger, maybe. I mean, he's a young dude.
Yeah, but Magic, not a physical game, a mental game.
Exactly.
And, you know, I don't know anything about this kid's game, but, you know, let's find out if he can play.
Yeah, I'm curious. Right now, he's it looks like he's got a red blacklist here. He started with Flesh Mad Steed. He's battled with his Minotaur Skull Cleaver, and now 2-2 and 2-1 flying into the red zone here. Traveling Philosopher and Loyal Pegasus are battling.
Now
and Oliver's just going to take it.
That's interesting, right? Because he didn't attack with the Steed.
Mm-hmm.
So I assumed it was because he wanted to block with it.
Right. Now, he might have put Huey on a trick, but, you know, you kind of would have decided that already, right?
Right. And interestingly enough, he sends one of his 2/2/2s again. That's the right one to send if you're going to send one.
Now, here's a potentially game-changing play for Oliver. It's an Agent of the Fates.
Yeah.
Agent of Fates can do tons of work against a white-based, especially in this case, white-blue list that doesn't really have a way to permanently deal with it very often.
Yeah, and Oliver not playing land either means he has a bunch of spells in hand.
Right.
If they can target that Agent of Fates, this game could end really quickly.
That's right.
And Huey knows that. Huey's probably thinking right now, I need to get this game over with. I don't know how, but I need to make it happen.
Right. All right, so now Minotaur Skull Cleaver blocks and exchanges for the Traveling Philosopher, and there's a much-needed land for Huey and a nice hit here, too.
Yeah.
He fights Heliod's Emissary, which can start going to work on Oliver's life total if he doesn't find a way to deal with it quickly. This is going to get interesting.
It is. It is going to get interesting.
Again, Oliver missing land drops here, maybe even missing another one, is also going to be a big factor as we go down the line. And here's Fearsome Temper on Agent of the Fates. We have a trigger, and down goes Nyxborn Shieldmate.
So, I mean,
Oliver's going to attack for 5 here.
Yeah, Oliver pretty on top of what the cards do, tapping his Steed immediately when Huey sacked a guy. I don't like that he didn't trade that one turn, though. I do feel like, especially with a Loyal Pegasus out, the Steed for the Traveling Philosopher would have been a good trade for him.
Especially because when you have an Agent of Fates, you want to try to whittle down your opponent's board as much as possible, get the chaff out of there so that, you know, when you fire off that Fearsome Temper, you start getting some real creatures dead.
Right, exactly.
Now, we were talking about the curve earlier of William Jensen's deck, and once again, we see him now. He plays 2 2-drops on his with using up his 4th mana. This is not the 4th turn of the game, but, you know, efficiency here.
Right. Agent of the Fates always has the potential to win a game, but it's not a card that's particularly good against Huey's deck, because Huey's deck is filled with a lot of small, kind of weak, underpowered creatures.
Kind of expendable.
Very expendable.
Okay. But Agent is battling for 5 a turn here and doing some work. Huey's going to block, and that block is going to do double duty. Not only is he going to preserve his life total, but it's going to tap down Flesh Mad Steed, meaning that if Oliver has another creature to add to the board here, Heliod's Emissary is going to be able to tap it and potentially get Huey in there for a big hit of damage. But it's not to be. Pharika's Cure on the main phase while Huey's tapped out. A nice play there for Oliver.
And that's what Oliver was looking to do since he wasn't going to be able to block anyway. Being able to kill a creature there was very good for him.
Yeah. And that's a crucial life gain as well, because right now Huey has 5 power on the board, but Oliver's at 11. Making it a 2-turn clock instead of a 3-turn clock instead of a 2-turn clock. So Huey's going to have a little bit more work to do here. And again, that Agent of Fate's just looming.
Right, this is a legitimately tight game.
Yeah, there's no room for error here. Oliver has finally started to hit his land drop, so he hit one last turn. He's drawn another land this turn. He's going to attack with his agent again. Now, the agent right now is a 5-4, so there's no great blocks here.
Huey's
for
not in great shape.
No.
William Jensen here, like, if he takes it, then he has to have multiple blockers up to block it in the future, or the fearsome temper can make, any one guy unable to block it, and it'll be lethal if he takes it here. If he chumps it, then if Oliver can play another blocker or kill one of William's guys, I mean, really, I think Oliver's the favorite in this game.
Yeah, it feels like it. Agent of the Fates is really, really tough.
Yeah.
For blue-white to beat.
Yeah, I think William's going to have to top deck Sudden Storm, or at least something, that's particularly potent in order to swing this game.
Okay. Oliver has not played his land for the turn here. Take 5. Does he have a follow-up play? Uh-oh.
Oh,
it's a 4-drop.
An interesting
and that
one.
Is a Fate Unraveler, which is going to drop Huey down to 3 immediately.
Right, and Huey can tap one of the 2 blockers, but not both, so he can't kill Oliver here.
Yeah, he really did need that Sudden Storm.
Yeah, I mean, he's not necessarily dead on the swing back, but if he doesn't do anything else,
he just keeps falling further behind.
Right, because he has multiple blockers he can leave up to prevent the agent from lethal, but he's going to have to block the Fate Reveler and the agent.
Yes.
In order to kill the agent, he would have to double block it. I mean, really, this is the turn where I don't know if William's going to be able to win this game after this turn.
Yeah, that Fate Unraveler being a 3-4 is a big pain here, too. It's not only lethal on its own, it's going to get through any single blocker here as well.
Right, and it has to be blocked. An agent has to be blocked.
Right.
So he can double block one of them, chump the other one, be left with one creature, which is not going to threaten 6 points.
Right.
I mean...
Yeah, it just feels like he's fallen a little bit too far behind here. Stumped on mana, though, able to use up his mana for most of the game anyway, thanks to his curve.
Yeah.
Huey Jensen seems to have found himself in a really tough spot here.
And I don't know what William drew this turn. I know that he has a Dissolve in hand, which doesn't help him, and I know that he has the 6-mana White Devotion creature that makes 1/1s. I forget its name, but that he can't cast that, obviously.
Yeah, that costs 6 Evangel of Heliod, yeah.
Right. Okay, I saw you drew a Cavalry Pegasus, so it's a blocker.
All right, so he attacks, knocks Oliver down to 3, and does play that second blocker. This is going to be close. Connor Bryant from Twitter says that he has several PTQ second-place finishers. This is Oliver playing blue-white control in the Northeast Circuit. He says the kid's legit.
Yeah, I think he's legit, but I don't think he's using his Fleshmat Steed very well. I think all the rest of the plays he's made were reasonable, but that Steed's going to get tapped in combat here when things die and not be able to block anyway. And it can attack, but not very effectively.
Because it's not lethal?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think I would have probably chumped the Heliod's Emissary and stayed at 6, knowing that William's not going to untap with 6 points of pressure after blockers, but he is going to automatically untap with 3, and 3 that's very tough to block because you need 2 blockers to block it. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of what he's done with the Fleshmat Steed in this game. Everything else I think he's done has been fine.
And this is how close it gets when these type of games, right? Both players stumbling a little.
Yeah.
It's a race situation for the most part. This is just super close. Oh, man, here's a Night Howler being put on the Agent of the Fates. Now, the Agent was lethal anyway, so the power and toughness boost doesn't really matter, but he's targeting it.
Yeah, but he can't attack because after a creature gets sacrificed, the Steed becomes tapped.
Yes.
If he attacks with one guy, he's dead because he can't block the Heliod's Emissary. If he doesn't attack, he's dead because William will have too many creatures, right? He's going to have 2 blockers. He can tap one of them. He can only block one of William's guys. So I think William actually won this game now.
Is he dead now?
Yeah, unless he has something for 1 Black Oliver, which I doubt he does. I think...
Have to be Eye Gouge or something along those lines?
If he doesn't have anything like that, I think William wins, unless I'm not reading the board right. He sacks a guy. The Steed gets tapped. If he attacks with both guys, Oliver, William can block both guys. If he doesn't attack, then he's dead, right? If Oliver doesn't attack, he's dead on board, right?
Right.
And if he does attack, he's still dead, right?
Right. He does, because he just gets double chumped, and then Elmer, good old Heliod's Emissary, battles in there and is lethal.
And ends the game. So, I mean, I think Oliver actually lost this game. You know, he played an okay game, but, you know, he didn't get enough out of that Steed. If he would have traded
just a little bit, right?
Even if he would have just traded that Steed for that Traveling Philosopher, I think he would have won this game.
Wow. And that's going to do it. Oliver does make the attack. Huey makes the blocks. And we're going to get a game 2 here. Remember, this is for top 8 here. Huey's got, I mean, you know, there's a 5 for pro players that are looking to get pro points and such. There's a cap of your best 5 GP finishes. And, you know, Huey seems to just be disregarding that cap because he's got like I mean, are they all top 8s? I don't know, but like, he's got a win and, you know, a 2nd place all this season.
The more you have, the harder it is to count. But I think he already has 5.
Yeah.
If you count the team one, which is worth 4 points, because I know Huey top 8'd with Reed and Owen at a Team GP in Barcelona. I think that was his 5th.
I just got a tweet from AJ Soccer who says, Huey won his first GP 2 years before Oliver was born.
Incredible.
BDM, what do you got for us?
So just what else is going on in the feature match area? Reed Duke is up a game against Adam Jensen. And I was really paying attention to Mark Evaldi, who was the front runner coming into this draft pod, undefeated. He went 0-2.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
But his deck is really good. We looked at it, and so he was playing against Stefan Barrios, and he had double Heroes Downfall.
Wow.
And just Barrios was just like stunned. Like what just
how do you beat that in this format?
And then Evaldi let Barrios get 2 running 7/7s. Snake of the Golden Grove, because he was just racing. He had an archetype of imagination, and his like just this motley crew of flyers that are just racing against these 2 7/7s, and he's able to just sort of chump block and kind of get his way, and so he's up a game there.
Okay. Thanks, BDM.
What a game that was. I did not think William was going to win that game.
Yeah, super, super close. But, you know, you mentioned it. You know, we were talking about that this is a tight game. You know, and Oliver just missed a little bit of value from his flesh mat steed, and sometimes that's all it can take when it gets that close.
Yeah, even if it would have just chump blocked on that last turn, if Oliver stays at 6 there, he can then make the same play, the Night Howler on the Agent of Fates, kill a guy, and then attack with both of his guys.
And not fear
William
the crackback.
has to block,
yes.
and then the crackback can't kill him.
Yes.
So, I mean.
Super close.
Yeah. Had to do something with that steed.
That's tough. So Huey needing to 6-0, so 3-0, 3-0, both of his drafts on day 2 here, is now 1 game away from doing that. And, you know, if he walks up to you in an event and says, take a look at my deck, this is not the deck that you jump out of your shoes and say, wow, man, how did you get past that?
His deck
it's more like it's like the junior varsity team for the blue-white heroic deck.
No, his deck is not good. But at the same time, it has a good curve. It has consistent mana. It can cast its cards. So if your opponent stumbles a little bit, you know, or if the cards line up the right way, you can win.
All right, so it looks like we're underway again. And we've got Oliver on the play this time. Now remember, both players did stumble in that game. That's what made it so close. I mean, you gotta love a deck with Agent of the Fates playing against the blue-white mediocre stuff deck, you know, the Traveling Philosopher deck. But we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot of sideboarding from either player. Uh-oh, is this it? No, that's a Minotaur Skullcleaver. And he's gonna offer a trade here. Huey's gonna decline it and just take the 4 damage.
I wonder what Huey's plans for that Traveling Philosopher
Well, what is the plan? Because otherwise, it's just going to offer to trade for a Baleful Eidolon at some point. Well, it looks like it's going to get in for 2 damage here.
It's still 4 for 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
Oh, this is why.
Well, yeah.
He's got a Loyal Pegasus, and he just has to preserve every creature he can.
Yeah.
Like, basically, he's going to get to attack with it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, Loyal Pegasus is a tough card to make really good, but when it is good, it's quite good. So let's see what Oliver has in store for Huey here. Well, he's got Ashiok's Adept here. Not going to do a ton, though. It is a nice blocker against a 2-1 and a 2-2 on the ground. So not bad at all for Oliver. It looks like he's pretty stable here. Somehow Oliver found the black heroic deck.
Ashiok Adept and Agent of Fates are both cards I like. Agent of Fates more, but obviously. But Ashiok Adept I like a lot too. You just, target it once or twice with a cantrip and you're just up 2 cards.
All right, here's a divination for Huey. He recognizes that things are not moving forward for him as the board sits, so he's going to take a turn here to draw some cards and craft a longer game plan here. It doesn't look like the rush you with two drops is really going to get there for Huey this time.
Yeah, and that's a big problem because that's why he's playing so aggressively, because Huey's deck does not have good late game. He has the one Evangel, which will make a bunch of 1/1s, which will be pretty good.
And this is a pretty safe attack here, although you got to figure that Oliver is pretty interested in trading off that Skull Cleaver here, right?
Unless he has some very specific plans for that Skull Cleaver, he should definitely trade the 2/2s.
Yeah. I mean, he can take no damage here no matter what. He can just put the Adept in front if he wants. But there it is. The trade comes down. Every time a creature hits the bin for Huey, it makes that Loyal Pegasus a little bit worse. And then also remember, Oliver's also got Night Howler in his deck, and it does make that a little bit better too. So.
Yeah. And like you pointed out last time, Agent of Fates, you want to attrition off the small creatures so you can kill the better ones with Agent.
Yes.
And Huey has Sunstorm and the Evangel. I mean, there's every reason in the world for Oliver to make any trade he can, as long as it's around even.
Yeah, and he just 1-for-1s here again. Farika's Cure, killing Leonin Snarecaster, enabling an attack and leaving that poor Pegasus all by itself. It doesn't like that very much, but it's found a friend though. Oliver immediately untaps, but I think he's got Lightning Strike in his hand too here, which is. That could definitely do some work as well.
Looks like his hand is filled with removal. That's an Asphyxiate, right?
I can't see it. But if it is, that would make sense. He'd love to use that.
Yeah.
Get that out of his hand. Again, if you kill the Vaporkin, it's like a temporary 2-for-1. You're basically making the Loyal Pegasus nullified as well. So.
Yeah, I think he might also have that Fearsome Temper he had last game. And he might be trying to debate right now whether he wants to kill the Vaporkin or enhance and make William discard. It's hard because, we can kind of see, but not really.
Yeah, and in fact, it's interesting because, Huey can't block here anyway, you know, so Oliver's going to get the damage in. It's just a question of, is he worried about taking damage in the air next turn? Yeah. And he is. He's going to Lightning Strike on his turn. Yeah,
he's being kind of frivolous with his removal, but I don't think that's necessarily wrong.
Okay. The downside being here that he's only got 2 power on the board. He's not exactly hammering away on Huey's life total. He's working on it.
Right. But Huey's deck doesn't have very many good creatures worth saving the removal for.
Okay.
And I believe Oliver still has an Asphyxiate, so he's probably figuring I can spend all these little removal spells. If Huey plays anything really good, I'll just, Asphyxiate it.
Here's a Breaching Hippocamp, though, for Huey.
Yeah, and
that's going to potentially eat Ashiok's Adept.
Yeah, and now that he spent all his instant removal, he can't really stop that Hippocamp. I mean,
I think the best target that Oliver saw was Heliod's Emissary.
Right. I mean, I certainly don't blame him for that attack. You have no reason to put him on Hippocamp. If he did have that Fearsome Temper that I thought I might have seen, I would have probably played that first, make him discard and, make my guy big enough to live through that. You're not really that scared of Divine Verdict because you're making him discard anyway.
That is an Asphyxiate that he has in his hand. He plays Spear Point Oriad, leaves up Lightning Strike mana here, but Oriad should be able to do a noble job of keeping the Breaching Hippocamp at bay.
We know he doesn't have Lightning Strike because he would have took down the Hippocamp. He's
of course. So what was that red card that he had then?
I don't know. I thought it was
totally
a Fearsome
right,
Temper, but I didn't see it well.
Okay. It must have been.
It definitely could not have been. It could have been.
Couldn't have been a Fearsome Temper either, though, right?
It could have been. I mean, he might not have played a pre-combat, just fairing bounce spells or Divine Verdict.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was. I couldn't see it very well.
You're right. Yeah, you're totally right. So let's see what happens here. All right. The obvious block happens, but of course Huey's going to have anticipated that. Now this could be a big blowout.
Well, it's just going to be a 1-for-1 trick.
All right. So that was Hold at Bay? Yeah, that's a 1-for-1 trick as it stands. I'm just saying, if Oliver had some type of way to interact, which he doesn't. So it was a Fearsome Temper. Okay.
See, I don't blame Oliver for not being psychic, obviously. You don't know your opponent's Hippocamp. But I like tempering the Ashiok Adept because you get a card right away anyway. And then...
This isn't Divine Verdict, is it? Oh, wow. And that's a good old-fashioned 2-for-1. Huey says, this is how we did it back in the day, kiddo. You play an Aura, and you're taking on some serious risk, and Huey's able to capitalize on it. The timing of things just not working out for Oliver here.
No, not at all.
And Huey's going to battle for 5 Does he have anything to add to the board afterwards? No.
No, Huey's got a Sudden Storm in hand, but no more creatures.
Okay.
And I know Oliver has an Asphyxiate, but he can't target those creatures because they keep attacking.
And they're going to be attacking consistently for the rest of this game. And there's a Cavern Lampad, and it looks like Huey's actually considering just tapping that down here. You know, he's got 2 lands in his hand as well, so getting that Scry would be nice. He finds a target for that Asphyxiate with Battle-Wise Hoplite, and he's going to pass the turn.
This could get interesting.
Can Huey use that to save his creature?
I think he can. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's going to use the Sudden Storm to tap down his own creature in response, potentially.
Yeah, if Oliver does Asphyxiate the Hoplite, or any of them for that matter, Huey can respond with Sudden Storm targeting his own guy and the Lampad.
Yeah.
That is cool. I don't think I've seen that come up yet.
No. Let's see what Oliver found, though. It is Asphyxiate. Oh, no. Here it is. Sudden Storm, your guy and my guy, effectively blanking Asphyxiate. The judge is going to pick it up to make sure that Huey's able to target his own creature, and he is. That's also going to get a +1/+1 counter and a Scry. Now, the Hoplite will be out of commission for the next turn, but it looks like the way is clear to get in for 5 damage, and that's something that Huey's perfectly fine with as Oliver plays his land and passes the turn back. Tricky stuff. Wow, and that was actually, I think, a Crackling Triton, and he also has his random red mana available too.
Convenient.
And that does not untap. Yeah, so Cavern Lampad stays tapped, and I think we're going to see Huey Jensen advance to yet another top 8 potentially here.
One of the best drafters in the world, 6-0ing the draft and advancing to the top 8.
Here's a Night Howler, though.
It's not enough.
That is definitely not enough. And that's a Revoke Existence to take away the only blocker available, and everybody comes into the red zone. Oliver has to extend the hand. A fantastic run, though, for young Oliver Tomaszko. You know, he's, like I said, I learned on Twitter, kid is legit. You know?
I mean,
he's got some work to do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's obvious. Everybody knows that, you know, he hasn't exactly perfected his Magic game yet, but he has been playing for a very short amount of time. And this kid's 12-2, like pretty incredible.
He's certainly better than I was at 13. And, I mean, he definitely had a good grasp on the game there of, you know, attacking and blocking. And, you know, like he had a good idea of what he was trying to accomplish. Just didn't really get the most out of his cards in those games.
Yep. Well, hopefully he gets a chance to watch this and he can listen to your advice, you know, and help improve his game.
Hopefully not. I'm just going to end up with, like, his mom yelling at me or something.
I think more likely than that, he's going to be beating you in the feature match at the PT sooner than later. BDM, what's going on the side tables?
So, big sigh of relief for Marcovaldi. He got there.
He got there. So
he's hoping on his tiebreakers right now. He's 39 points, but you know he's a front runner for most of this tournament. He should be in. Just double Hero's Downfall. He sided out for Recuscure, brought in like Nullify against the deck with all the 5 drops, and was able to just make short work of what looked like a pretty impressive green-red deck with his blue-black deck. But he's in. And then at the other table, it was Nick Henning lost to Pierre Christian Mondin. Red-black deck, really sick.
Okay.
3 triple Fanatic Amagas.
Good to know. Thanks, BDM. And we've got a tussle on our hands here. Reed Duke sitting at 8.
Yeah, but Reed Duke creating a 5/5 flyer as we speak.
Yeah, that looks good. He went from a crow to a dragon.
And anytime Reed has cards in hand, you have to be scared because his deck has a lot of power.
Yes. And he's got 3 cards, it looks like, there. He's attacking for at least 5. Even if they're 3 creatures, he can't actually hit for lethal here.
No, this would be a shocking block. I mean, unless he has Triton Tactics. Even then, because I mean, he would only have to discard what, 1 card to take down the Horizon Scholar.
Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
So pretty tough to block there.
So Adam Jensen has plenty of lands on the battlefield, a couple of cards in hand.
I wish I could see them.
I wish I could as well. I've leaned all the way around the side of this monitor and still cannot see his hand. Mental note, we need a 3D monitor here in the booth. Attack with the Horizon Scholar, that's going to drop Reed Duke from 8 down to 4, so one more hit from that and Reed's done here. But Adam's going to have to find a way to get ahead of that flyer, as it could be lethal. I mean, any creature in hand could be lethal here.
Yeah. It seems unlikely that Adam doesn't have anything. We just tuned in.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to peg on what he could or couldn't have. But, I mean...
Is this a tough decision for Reed? I mean, let's say he's got a creature in his hand.
Right.
Does he just go for it?
You know, it depends on what the creature is, what your other options are.
Okay. Because, I mean, he's got a blocker for Horizon.
But if Adam has a bounce spell,
yeah,
he doesn't have a blocker for it anyway.
Right.
So it does depend on what else you have.
Here's Marshmist Titan for Reed Duke. So he's playing creatures. Oh, and he plays Mogus's Marauder here, which is going to give everything on his team Intimidate, and also give the Marshmist Titan haste as well as the Marauder itself. And now he doesn't have to put all his eggs in one basket where he can just get Voyages ended out of this game. He gets to stack with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what he does.
Yeah, Adam needs to have a combination of things to live here, I think.
I see he's got a Cetessan Griffin here.
There is the Prevent 7.
He has a Divine Verdict. It's not enough.
Wow.
And Reed Duke wins 2-0. And is he going to be meeting Huey in the top 8 here?
Well, I think they're both going to make the top 8.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know when they're going to play. That would be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, just both of them making it is pretty sweet. You know, obviously they're very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Owen Turtenwald, I talked to him earlier today. I'm sure he'd like to be in there as well. But by the way, Owen finally made a bad prediction.
What did Owen predict?
The last 2 predictions he's made